On the 15th of April 1989, Liverpool and Nottingham Forest met at the neutral Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield to contest the FA Cup semi-final. Because of football hooliganism, supporters of the teams were separated into large metal wire cages. Bad planning and poor access to the ground meant that at the start of play there were still thousands of spectators trying to get in. When police threw open the gates and they entered in a rush, bottlenecks in the stadium resulted in hundreds of people being crushed together. 94 people died on the day, mostly from compressive asphyxia, meaning they were packed so tightly together they could not even expand their lungs to breathe. One victim was Tony Bland, an 18-year-old Liverpool supporter. In the crush, his brain was deprived of oxygen for so long that the cerebral cortex of his brain, the part of the brain which allows for thought and awareness and consciousness and sentience, was irreversibly and completely destroyed. However, his brain stem, which controls breathing and heartbeat, continued to function. He remained alive for 3 years in what was called a persistent vegetative state. He had no awareness, no feeling, no thoughts, but his body was able to continue a purely mechanical form of operation. His parents and his doctors applied for the court's approval to withdraw feeding and treatment and allow him to die. The judges therefore had to wrestle with some of the most profound questions of our civilization, questions of the value of life and even the meaning of life. Of all the judgments, you simply must read that of Lord Hoffman. In all of my years in the law, I have never read such a profoundly moving, profoundly human, intellectually thorough judgment. He turned for guidance on these deepest questions to jurisprudence and acknowledged in his judgment the contribution of his conversations with Professor Ronald Dworkin. This case note cannot do justice to his judgment. You must read it for yourself. But in that judgment, Lord Hoffman said, "Thus it seems to me that we are faced with conflicting ethical principles. On the one hand, Anthony Bland is alive, and the principle of the sanctity of life says that we should not deliberately allow him to die. On the other hand, Anthony Bland is an individual human being, and the principle of self-determination says he should be allowed to choose for himself, and that if he is unable to express his choice, we should try our honest best to do what we think he would have chosen. We cannot disclaim this choice because to go on is as much a choice as to stop. Normally, we would unquestioningly assume that anyone would wish to live rather than to die. But in the extraordinary case of Anthony Bland, we think it more likely that he would choose to put an end to the humiliation of his being and the distress of his family. Finally, Anthony Bland is a person to whom respect is owed, and we think that it would show greater respect to allow him to die and be mourned by his family than to keep him grotesquely alive." Tony Bland died on the 3rd of March 1993 after treatment was withdrawn. May all of the victims rest in peace.